Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Beth Nance, and I am the founder of the North Carolina Museum of Dolls, Toys, and Miniatures. And today on our call, we have Maryann Roy with us. What a pleasure it is to have you with us today, Maryann.
Hi, Beth. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I am excited that you're here, and I think it's pretty awesome that we should tell our listeners that we are both on our first journey together with this interview, and so I'm thrilled that you accepted the challenge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, my first Zoom interview ever. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, my first Zoom interview as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You know, I think one of the reasons I wanted to interview you and talk to you is because I've had so many people talk about your work and talk about what a fabulous miniaturist you are. And actually, I consider it to be an art, what you do.
Thank you. I consider myself an artist. And so I would say, yeah, this is an art. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, how did you first get interested in designing and creating miniature sets for fashion dolls?
This probably most likely started when I was writing for Fashion Doll Quarterly magazine. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started, it was already a very well, beautifully written, beautifully photographed magazine. And I wanted my articles, my submissions to look as polished and professional as everyone else who was writing for the magazine. And I needed props for my articles. And so I decided if I can't find what I want, I have to make it. So I made a few props and pieces for my articles and started noticing that. And I found out my own love of woodworking back through the process. I love taking just a pile of wood and making it into something. So it was like a twofold, something to do for the magazine and also something that I love to do. And so when people took an interest in that, I thought, well, let me try to sell it. If I'm going to do this, let me see how well it goes. And it really just kind of blossomed there.
And so do you remember the first piece that you actually sold? And what was that feeling like when you actually had a customer who said, I want that piece?
First thing I did was I created it was a set of chairs. I do remember the pattern. I don't have any photos to show you. I was not prepared for that, but it was a set of chairs with a table and a little lamp. And Marge Matsu of My Favorite Doll, she has since left us, but she gave me that opportunity to sell the little suite of furniture through her My Favorite Doll store. And you know, I thank her all the time for giving me that opportunity. And then also I put an advertisement in the Fashion Doll Quarterly magazine, which drew people to me. And that's really kind of how it started. So I have to say the first set that I sold was a set of chairs and a table. I do remember that the table was painted red. I cannot think of the pattern of the chairs now, but I can find a picture of it. I do have a picture of it.
Well, and how long ago was that, Maryann?
I'm guessing because I didn't know when I started that this was going to take off to be a business. So I want to say that was 2008. Yeah. So I've been doing it for a while.
That absolutely. Well, tell us, what inspires your designs and where do you draw your inspiration from?
It's not, it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things. I love color. I love anything mid-century. I love mid-century architecture as well as furniture. I draw inspiration from classic movies. I love the movies of the 50s and the 60s. I love the fashions. I love the decor. It really could be anything. It could be a doll. It could be a song. It could be a TV series. I have lots of reference books. It could be picture, a vintage picture. You know, it's a lot of things.
Right. So you live in Connecticut,
Huh?
and do you have a mid-century modern home that you live in? Or is your creation of the mid-century modern furniture and designs that you do sort of like your the place where you have, I guess you could call it your happy place?
Our house is very traditional, although I am intermingling some mid-century into it. You know, my husband and I have been together for a number of years, and we've gone through changes as far as taste when it comes to decorating our home. And I think he is on board with me with the mid-century, but I would say it's more of a mix. It's a mix.
Mhm.
So, but I have always been drawn to mid-century modern furnishings. I'm not exactly sure why. I just had a love of it and started doing a lot of research on it. And so that brings me to a lot of reasons why people think my creations are so authentic. It's because I research. Yeah.
Yes, and they are very authentic, and I think our viewers can see that you've put up a background. So tell us a little bit about that. And
Uh,
I'm just fascinated and impressed by the detail.
I love that this background worked out like this because, you know, what a better way to show off something that I've done. This is not my actual living room, but it is actually a picture of a set that I created a few years ago. And the set was called Mid-Century Madam. And it was a two-room apartment with freestanding walls, and you could move everything around so that it looked, you know, you could change the dining room or the living room.
Mhm.
And I just went with, if you can see the fabric on the sofa, sometimes it's just one thing that inspires me to do something. And this was just a piece of flocked taffeta that somebody gave me. And I love the look of it. And I created the sofa first. And then I thought, you know, this is, we can develop something else from here now. But it was the beginning of when I started doing one of a kind sets because prior to that, I always sold things in 10, 20, even 30 pieces. A fun one for me. It is one of my favorites and it shows very well. And just to stay on this for a little while longer, I actually printed some, you know, backdrop size photos of this set and some others that I did sell. So if you don't have room to set up furnishings, you can still have a backdrop for your
What
dolls.
a great idea. What a great idea. Well, are there any sets that you're one of a kind sets that you've sold that you regret selling that you think, oh my gosh, I should have hung on to that piece?
You, it's not like I don't think of it now as I regret it, but I will tell you, and maybe a lot of artists feel this. When once I've sold something and I'm packing it up to go, that is when I feel sad. Um, it's not I don't want it to go. I think it's just I put so much of myself into it.
Sure.
I'm like, why am I selling? Why am I selling this? But the flip side of that is it is my job. It is what I do, and I think every artist feels sometimes it's hard to let go of your piece.
Yeah.
It's your baby. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Well, I love the coloring in this set. I just think it's so beautiful. And I
It,
know a lot of people don't think about putting that. It looks almost like a pink or a salmon color with the yellow and the
yeah.
turquoise. It just looks so good. I love it. Looks really
I'm re-
pretty.
I love color. I'm really all about color, and that's I've never studied that. I'm self-taught, as I may have mentioned to you. I just know it when I see it. I just know it goes together. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, what's been your biggest challenge when designing the 1/6 scale, which is a fashion doll size?
Um, for me, it's the proper tools to create miniature works because I do everything by hand, but I am working with full scale machinery, you know, a drill press and a bandsaw. And some things are just too tiny to do that with. And it's just been, I have not explored, purchasing miniature type of woodworking tools. But I think that would benefit me greatly if I had more accessibility to tools to do the proper job.
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to do now is take it from not as simplistic. More recently, I did, you may have seen the Papa Bear chair that I created
Yes, yeah,
with,
that was fantastic.
it's got a lot of curves and it takes a lot of patience. And I am cutting that out on a bandsaw. But that's been my frustration. Why can't I do other things that I see with the curves or the balance or what have you? But otherwise, I try to do, I challenge myself. So I challenge myself to try to do something that otherwise you would think I couldn't do it on the machines that I have.
Right, right. Well, and I think it's from a miniaturist point of view, I think it's amazing that you've learned how to create this 1/6 scale design from the accessories to the furniture pieces, to the actual flooring. Everything that you've created is all in the exact scale for the fashion doll, which I think is remarkable that you've done it with the use of hand tools that aren't custom for miniaturists. Now I know a lot of people that are making miniatures, especially in the small scales like quarter scale, have gone to the computerized
The printers,
the printers. Yes, yeah,
3D printers,
the
yeah.
3D printers. Do you see yourself using one of those in the future?
I actually do own a resin printer, Beth, but it's not for large things. I have created like miniature figurines for lamps. I do a lot of lighted lamps. I do like a moss style lamp. I don't know if you're familiar with moss. I've also done the Black Panther lamp. And right now I'm looking into doing more with the resin
Mhm.
printer, but I have printed a mid-century modern chair, but it's one of those things that takes, 8 to 10 hours to print one chair.
Wow.
It's looking into something that will be marketable and not
Mhm.
so time consuming as far as my resin printer anyway. It's not
Right.
for large scale pieces. Yeah, yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. And about your creative process, could you walk us through your creative process from idea to like maybe a finished product? How long does something like that, once you get inspired, how long does it take you to actually go from the concept to the finished product?
Um, it's it's hard to explain because sometimes the process is different on any given day. Typically, when I'm working on something, um, my mind is already thinking what is going to be next. Uh,
Hmm.
so sometimes I will need a break between doing things just so I can change my gears, shift my gears. But what I try to do is look at reference photos first.
Hmm.
Think about I am also, as much as I do this for me because I enjoy it, I'm also trying to think what my clientele would enjoy seeing or would want or love to have. So I'm always trying to think of what you might say is the next best thing.
Hmm.
So I might sit down with my reference photos, do some research in books, sketch out some things, see what I like, because in the end, I have to like it before I start it. Um, and so I'm hoping you will like it, right?
Right.
Then I need a pattern for everything. I can't just go down to the wood pile and start cutting.
Right.
So I have to figure out what sizes, what shape, what pattern, just like a dressmaker would do, and figure out what has to work. And that is a process too. Sometimes it works very well the first time out because I've been doing it so long. But sometimes when I'm trying something I've never done before, it's a lot of scrap in the scrap pile.
Right.
So as far as how long, it just depends on the project. If I am really zoned into working on a chair, say, and I have a pattern for it, I mean, that won't take me more than a day to, work that pattern and get it fitted up in wood and maybe let it dry overnight and then do the upholstery the next day. But if I'm working on something like, what you see behind me, that probably took 2 weeks. And sometimes when I'm working on a larger scale set, it's it's an evolving process. I this particular set I did not have all laid out. I just started with one thing, and that's really kind of how it works for me. I start with one thing and see what looks good with it, and then I
Mhm.
say, oh, you need a coffee table, or oh, you need a dining set, or oh, you need a credenza. Something else has to go here, and it's just really a process. Yeah.
And it sounds like a fun one because that is where you get to really be creative. Like you said, you started out with this set behind you with the fabric that a friend gave you. I mean, how neat is that? And I'm sure your friend was thrilled when you said this was the inspiration for
Well,
this
I don't know if
amazing.
he knows. I kept that. I had that fabric for a long time, and he just sent me some samples of fabric that he could not use. And so I didn't say, oh, this is from so and so. I just
Yeah.
went to my fabric stack and said, oh, this would,
Right.
yeah,
That's kind of fun. That's kind of fun.
yeah, yeah, it
Well,
is.
I
Go ahead.
wanted to sorry, I wanted to ask you about the work that you've done with Integrity Toys, and what was it like to work with them and design sets for their line of dolls?
Oh my God, I was so flattered and honored. I spoke to David Buttry when he was designing his line of Parker dolls, which you know, are just golden and famous. Um, so flattered that they even turned their eyes to what I do, and it was a work in progress. I mostly did speak with David and got my direction from him. He would send me photos of ideas,
Mhm.
things that they were looking for, and it really was fun. It was thrilling. I had never done anything like that before. I did a couple of sets for the Poppy Parker line and also for the Integrity or the Integrity New Face line. It was more like an industrial setting. I can't think of the name of the particular line now. I believe it was New Face. But yeah, that was exciting. It really was.
Well, and I guess you enjoy that sort of collaboration?
I do. I've done collaborations several times. I've done work for boutique jewelry stores, window dressing. It it's fun to be able to work with other creative artists and see what their vision of what I do, um, how they interpret it and what they do with it.
Right. Well, and speaking of working with other artists in collaboration, tell us more about your replicas that you created for that classic television and the movie sets, and which ones you've created, and have you had a favorite?
Well, Bewitched, hands down, it was my favorite, and I think the FTQ magazine, that the issue that was in, was uh, the classics or something like that, or retro television. And I thought right away, I've got to do this. I've got to interpret, I Love Lucy and Bewitched and Dick Van Dyke, um, and just take it to another level. The Bewitched set, as soon as the magazine hit the stand. So this is another thing that I'm very, very proud of. A Japanese collector who owns a doll museum in Japan
Uh-huh.
bought that set. So that's where that Bewitched set resides now. So that was very, very exciting for me. I really did it for fun because I adored those shows. I adored those shows, and they're
Yes.
very,
And was it a contest that you entered, or?
not, no, it was my article for FDQ. Pat Henry let me just kind of do my thing.
Fantastic.
And yeah, I built the three sets and wrote about
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could give me a copy of that article and I could link it into our
Yes, I will look for that for you. Absolutely.
absolutely. And that way all of our viewers and listeners can enjoy that article as well. Because I think it sounds fascinating.
Another one of the sets, since we're still kind of on the FDQ, was I don't know if you're familiar with the movie Down with Love with Renee Zellweger.
No.
Oh, it's set in the 60s, and she's just got the most fabulous mod New York City apartment. And I recreated that for Poppy Parker. Not for integrity, but for
Right.
South Florley for the magazine. And that was a huge set. And I encourage you to look up Down with Love, and you'll know right away. She's got this center fireplace and the spiral staircase, and it's all white, and it looks out on the city. And she's got a huge curved pink sofa. And so
wow.
look up the movie, Beth, and I will find the article in the magazine, and I can,
Wonderful. I think that sounds wonderful. And I think it'll be fun for all of our listeners and viewers to be able to click on those links and get to know a little bit more about you and about your artistry, really. So I think that's awesome. Well, I've got a couple more questions for you. And I wanted to know, what advice would you give to someone who's interested in designing and creating miniature sets for dolls?
I would say go with your heart. Design what you love, create what you love. I started out of necessity, but that's not what you have to do. If that's something that you aspire to or it's in your heart, then I would just say try it. Start with one little thing and see how it makes you feel. See if it's something you want to continue to do. That's what I would say.
That's excellent advice. And so tell us, what's next for you in your studio? Any upcoming projects or collaborations that you're excited to and can
Well,
share?
I'm working on some pieces for a virtual sale that's coming up, intertwined with Bradley's The Swell Mystery. But I really can't tell you what it's going to involve.
Gotcha.
I'm going to leave that as a surprise. And I do have a few requests for some one-of-a-kind sets. I don't, have any really set plans, but it is on my list of things. One-of-a-kind sets, I really have to be able to set the time aside and know that I have that time to devote to it. And so that's when I will take in one-of-a-kind. But I don't know. We never know what's on the horizon, do we?
That's right. It's always, it's every day is a new adventure.
Absolutely.
So tell our viewers and our listeners how they can get in touch with you if they're interested in purchasing any of your furniture, or if they're interested in a custom design.
Okay. Well, I'd love you all to have a look at my website. It's www.maryannroy.com. And there you can click on links and find out all about me and how to get in touch with me. And, I'm also on Instagram. I have a page on Instagram and also on Facebook. I mean, it's pretty easy if you're looking for me, you can find me.
Fantastic. That's wonderful. Well, Maryann, thank you so much for joining us today. And I would like to say thank you for all of your generosity to the North Carolina Museum of Dolls, Toys, and Miniatures. And for those who can come and visit the museum, you can see one of Maryann's pieces on display. And so we're just tickled to have that piece of your heart with us every day at the museum. So thank you for believing in us and for your support.
You are welcome, and thank you for having me, Beth. And there's more donations to come, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you so much.